Alright guys, welcome back to video 4 of week 1, and this video probably has the most important concepts that you need to know for this course, and that's cost behavior, and we will be going to be talking about what is a variable cost, what is a fixed cost, as well as what is a mixed cost. So it's extremely important. So if you do not understand anything from this video, please just let me know or just check back all the video again, because it's really just a vital concepts to understand. I mean, almost everything we do in this course builds on this concept of variable and fixed costs. Okay, so first up, the definition of a variable cost. So a variable cost is an aggregate cost that varies directly with the changes in the level of production. Okay, it could be in the case of a manufacturing cost or in the case of a non-manufacturing cost. So in other words, it doesn't have to be specifically manufacturing or non-manufacturing. The key thing is that it's a cost that varies directly in the change of the level of production. Alright, so what I mean by that is if production or sales goes up, this cost will also go up. If production and sales goes down, this cost will also go down. And that's the definition of a variable cost. Key thing to remember, a variable cost is fixed per unit. So if it costs me 5 Rand for a piece of material, that 5 Rand will be fixed for every amount of material I purchase. Okay. However, the 5 Rand will effectively be multiplied with the number of units I produce or sell. And because the units I produce or sell goes up, this 5 Rand gets multiplied with that higher amount, and therefore that becomes variable. Alright, so typical examples of a variable cost is direct material. And the reason why direct material is a variable cost, the more materials you buy, the more it will cost you. So by definition, it's a variable cost. The more you produce, the more materials you need. Therefore, by definition, materials is a variable cost. So materials to make a Apple computer, the steel for the computer, the batteries for the computer, all the chips, etc. required for the computers. The more computers that are produced, the more of those specific materials you need. Likewise for direct labor. So when we say direct labor, these are the direct labor is involved in actually putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And so the more products you make, the more hours the direct laborers have to spend on the products. And therefore direct labor is also a variable cost. Alright. We will discuss this later on in the course, but while we're at it here, just this is assumed that laborers are paid per hour. In other words, they're not paid a salary. So if they are paid per hour that they work, they would be a variable cost, because if they're paid a salary, it would be a fixed cost, because it's irrespective of how many hours they work. Okay, and also included variable manufacturing overheads. So overheads are things like electricity, water. The more we produce, the more electricity we use, the more water we use. And so by definition, variable manufacturing overheads is variable, as well as variable selling and administrative costs. So if it's variable selling costs and variable administrative costs, they will also be variable. So by definition, almost always in this course, you can assume that direct material, direct labor, variable manufacturing overheads will always be variable. So direct material, direct labor, always variable, and the word variable manufacturing overheads tells you that something is variable. And then in some cases, there will be commission in questions, and if commission, if you get paid per item you sell, that makes it variable. If administrative costs are variable for like processing costs, etc., then that would also, of course, be a variable cost. So, just an example here, a uniform manufacturer pays their workers on the basis of 5 Rand for every uniform stitched by each worker. The workers do not receive a fixed monthly salary. The aggregate wage expense varies with production, i.e. the number of units produced. If 1,000 uniforms are stitched that month, the aggregate wage cost for the month is 5,000. However, regardless of how many units are produced, the wage cost per unit is constant, i.e. 5 Rand. So the cost per unit is constant, 5 Rand per unit. However, We take this 5 Rand per unit and we multiply it with the number of uniforms and we get to the 5,000. And because the cost that is paid to the workers varies because of the uniforms, the wage cost, or the wage cost in this case is a variable cost because it varies with, in this case, the uniforms. And so if we look at the definition, it's a cost that changes with production, and what's produced here is uniforms. And so the more uniforms we produce, the more we're going to have to pay the workers, and therefore the wage in this case is a variable cost. Alright, in this video here for now, and when we come back we're going to discuss fixed costs.